Good night of Shabbos, everyone. Parsha's korach, the Parsha of rebellion, the Parsha of strife, the Parsha of where one man almost upended the entire Jewish people, where his negativity caught on to 250 others and was something that could have spread through the Jewish people in such a virulent way, something that could have broken the very foundation, the very fabric of the Jewish people. The Parsha of Korach is an important Parsha to study, to go over. It's an important Parsha to understand the mechanics of this rebellion, of how this happens, of how this could happen in Klal Yisrael. Because it's important for communities to understand this. It's important for individuals to understand this. It's important for the Jewish nation to understand this. Korach rebels, stands up against Moshe, questions not merely just Moshe's leadership, but questions Moshe's ability to be able to transmit the Torah, to be able to bring the Torah to the Jewish people. Whether Moshe is honestly and truthfully transmitting that Torah, whether he's a faithful transmitter of the Torah, whether he has the rights to do that, whether there is nepotism in Moshe's structure of the Jewish nation, all of that Korach calls into question. Moshe Rabbeinu looks at Korach and he says to Korach, Rav lochem b'nei Levi, it's enough for you, children of Levi. You have enough, you've climbed enough. You've grabbed enough, you've taken enough, you have enough. Rav lochem b'nei Levi. Stop this rebellion. The Talmud, when it's describing the concept of midah keneged midah, of measure for measure, the Talmud says, B'rav biser u'b'rav bisruhu. That Moshe Rabbeinu spoke with the words Rav lochem, and Moshe Rabbeinu got it back. When Moshe Rabbeinu davened to Hashem, Parshas V'eschanan, 515 times the word V'eschanan, the gematria of the word V'eschanan is 515. When Moshe davened 515 times in front of Hashem, God finally turns to Moshe and he says to him, Rav loch al Tosef. And says the Talmud that just like Moshe Rabbeinu dealt with the word Rav lochem, Moshe Rabbeinu got it back. When he wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael, he was told, Rav loch al Tosef, it's enough for you. You've gone high enough. You've gone far enough. It implies that there was something wrong with Moshe Rabbeinu's putting down the rebellion. That there was something wrong with Moshe Rabbeinu turning to Korach and saying to Korach, Rav lochem b'nei Levi. What was Moshe Rabbeinu supposed to say to Korach? Oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way. I'm so sorry that you feel like we're not being fair. Maybe we're not being fair to you. Maybe we really need to do more. Maybe we need to change the Torah for you. Moshe Rabbeinu looks at Korach and he has no choice but to say to Korach, stop this. This is madness. Why would Moshe Rabbeinu get taken to task then? Why would that be considered a crime? So you have to analyze. Look carefully at what Korach wanted. Ultimately, at the very roots of Korach's desires was to grow closer to God. Now, it got mixed in with his ego, and it got mixed in with his own personal desires. It got mixed in as a personal vendetta. He wanted the limelight. All of that clouded it. But how did it start? What was its roots? He was a Levi and he wanted to be a Kohen. He wanted more of a portion in the service of God. He wanted to draw closer to God. And what the Torah is telling us, that when somebody wants to draw closer to God, don't ever say the words to them, Rav lochem b'nei Levi. It's enough for you. Because in growth and in getting closer to God, it's never enough. That your methodology might be wrong, that your ideology outside of your desire to grow closer to God might be wrong. Your path might be wrong. The way you're doing this might be wrong. All that's true. But the fact that you want to get closer, the fact that you're striving, you might be doing it in a weird way, but you're striving to get closer, then I can never say those words to you, Rav Lechem B'nai Levi. And God turns to Moshe. When Moshe Rabbeinu asked to go into the land of Israel, he wasn't asking to go into the land of Israel because that's where you get good shawarma. He was going in to ask to go into the land of Israel because that's where you could do mitzvahs that you couldn't do outside the land of Israel. He wanted to get closer to God. He wanted an opportunity to be able to do those mitzvahs. And God turns to Moshe Rabbeinu and he says to him, Rav Lach, it's enough of you. See what that feels like. It's horrible when a ceiling gets put on top of you. It's an amazing thing. That's the worst thing a human being could do to another human being is to stop them from growing. But it's not only about what I should never say to you and what you should never say to another person, but it's about what we should never say to ourselves. Never say to ourselves, Rav Lechem B'nai Levi, you've got enough. You've climbed high enough. You've gone far enough. You've pushed yourself enough. Oh, look where I was last week. Look where I am now. Look where I was last year. Look at how far I've come. I used to be this way. I'm now this way. Wow, isn't that amazing? I've done enough. I've gone far enough. I've gone high enough. I've pushed myself enough. I've climbed high enough. Don't ever say that. We should never put a ceiling on ourselves. We should never put a cap on our desire to grow closer to God. It's never Rav Lechem B'nai Levi. Because there's always one more thing that we could do. There's always that little tweak, that little push that can make a world of difference in our lives. We can't even imagine what one more act of chesed, what one more word of Torah, what one more tefillah can accomplish inside of this world. Of course, we should never say it to each other, but don't ever say it to yourself. Rav Lechem B'nai Levi, I've pushed myself far enough. I've gone high enough. I can always go higher. I can always become better. I can always draw closer to the Ribono Shel Olam, to the Master of the universe, to his creatures, to his Torah, and to God himself. Have an amazing, beautiful, wonderful, magnificent Shabbos. And we should be filled only with the brachas of Hashem. And we should be filled with the biggest bracha, to be able to open our eyes and realize that our lives are filled with all the brachas of Hashem. Have a beautiful Shabbos.